Hello and welcome to Hearted Divination. I'm going to be talking about incompatible love signs. Most of the time when we hear about zodiac signs and love, it's about compatibility, which makes sense. But I'm going to talk about those particular signs that aren't meant to work very well, and how we can overcome some of the problems that will be faced. I'm going to talk about the Leo man and the Cancerian woman. You see, Cancer is the third sign on the zodiac wheel, ruled by the moon, and the element is water. So we're talking about a very emotionally responsive personality here, because the moon in many mythologies was portrayed as female, but in Babylon it was depicted as a handsome male spirit. And Cancerians have this ocean of emotion which bestows them with a great capacity to nurture. They will smother and mother their significant other. And this is a way of her trying to create a foundation of security for herself. So ultimately, most Cancerians seek commitment, and this had better be well received, or at least reciprocated, because many Cancerians don't take rejection lightly. And of course, the Leo will love this attention. He'll consider himself entitled because it confirms that underlying belief that he's important. So you'll accept this with joy and pride, because he's come into this world to distinguish himself in some way, to be authentic and to stand out from the crowd. Like the sun, he wants to shine. He wants to be noticed, to matter. And this doesn't mean that he's self-centered. It's all to do with the sun as his ruler. Because the sun is an energizing force that drives him towards self-identity, self-recognition, and self-awareness. This doesn't mean that he's selfish. Leos have very big hearts. In fact, the zodiac sign, Leo, rules the heart, and it governs the circulatory system. In general, they will be very amicable and benevolent, and they make very loyal friends. But the Cancerian, with a nervous tension and gut instinct, will forewarn him about being too generous with those who don't deserve it. And Leo may become annoyed by over-concern about his entourage of admirers, which make her feel insecure. In fact, he will find Cancerian's love rather possessive, because his love extends the home and family, and it can do for Cancerians, especially those who like to get involved in voluntary work or attend charitable events. But for Leo, his love is for life itself. He's come to serve humanity as a leader. The only time he may not mind Cancer's compassion is when he's in a low mood. And most Leos don't like to be perceived in this light, because they're too proud. But the Cancerian will be able to inspire him and encourage him and shower him with adulation. This will ignite that flame within him. Because Cancerians can be quite doting, too loving, too protective. And the Leo man will find this quite hard work. Especially the boastful type who are arrogant and think that they're better than everyone else. But when Cancer's going through her fluctuation of emotions, which rise and fall like sea levels attracted by the moon, this will infuriate Leo. It could make his blood rise and his head become hot, and then he'll just explode. And this sort of anger will disrupt the electromagnetic field around his heart and block the heart chakra. This is not only devastating for him, but of course the Cancerian, who will hide inside her shell in defense. And I think this is the crux of the problem. But if she's a Cancerian woman with a Libra rising, where the emotions are more stable, and she seeks peace and harmony, this will be healing for the Leo man's heart. He requires it. And if she visualizes a world where there's peace, justice and balance, a Leo man of a similar vibration would be a perfect consort, because he would govern a divine order such as that one. And if she's the sort that's, most Cancerians are tender-hearted, but with a Libra rising, she will have this tactful diplomacy about her that correlates well with the Leo man's self-esteem. And another possibility would be a Cancerian woman with a Sagittarius rising, because her search for truth would be so appealing to Leo, because he praises truth. And mutable fire would accommodate Leo's keen, creative enthusiasm towards life. She'll understand why he has to be in the spotlight, because she also loves attention. However, her flirtatious behaviour and blunt speech could be an irritant. Another option would be a Cancerian woman with an Aquarius rising. With fixed air, Leo would feel confident in understanding her, because there is a steadfastness in mind. Because Leos seldom change their perspective on life as fixed fire. But the Cancerian woman does need someone to support her emotionally. And remember, the moon has no light of its own. Its illumination is a reflection from the sun. So she needs a man who can brighten up her life, especially emotionally. So these are the possible types of rising signs that could work with Leo. But we have to remember that the Cancerian woman needs a compatible Leo too, in the sense that a Leo man with Venus placed in Pisces would be a good match because of all that sympathetic virtue that would be very helpful for when she's in low spirits. And the Neptunian Venus has a devotion that reaches the depths that are unimaginable. And this would be well placed in the Cancerian's nature to nurture. We could easily say, well, there's probably other rising signs that have a water element that could be helpful. But when we think about a Leo man with a Scorpio rising, he would be in a better position to understand her unstable emotions because he can psych people out. But the only disadvantage with this, if he abuses this and uses it as a form of control, she would find this too overbearing. And even worse, if the Leo man has his moon in Scorpio, because then his sexual drive would be insatiable and very difficult to curtail. And this would give the Cancerian woman a rough ride. And this also pertains to his fidelity too. We could easily say, well, why not get a Leo man with a Cancer rising and a moon in Cancer? They say like attracts like, but opposites attract too. And I feel that romantic love is an essential aspect of our soul journey. So a little bit of contrast would give us the opportunity to develop those parts of ourselves that need to evolve. It would contribute to our overall spiritual growth. But in saying all that, there are two areas where the Cancer woman and the Leo man would meet. And that's in the physical sense. We're talking about sex here. Because Cancer would be highly receptive to Leo's keen and creative eroticism. And why would Leo deny Cancer's initiation into highly orgasmic experiences that could skyrocket him to the moon? And another area would be finance. Because Leos are known for living large. That means even living above their means. And the Cancer would be able to supervise him in terms of budgeting and saving. And with the Leo man being very original and charismatic, she would advise him to use these attributes on an entrepreneurial level, because Cancer has a head for business. But we all know that a relationship cannot survive on the premise of finance and sex. It takes so much more than that. But the problem seems to be the emotional life and the rulership. Because Leo is ruled by the sun, which is conscious, and there's a drive towards self-expression outwardly, he comes into the world to exercise his courage in his environment. And with Cancer having the ruler as the moon, which is subjective and internal and unconscious, she has a life where she's trying to cultivate courage. So they're moving in different directions simply because they're on different levels. And the sun and the moon are completely different forces that need to be harmonized well. So this is why it's probably considered as incompatible. But even if we were to switch the genders around and we had the Leo woman with the Cancer man, the situation wouldn't be any improvement. And when you think about the social implications and cultural dictations, you can understand why. I mean, do you know any Leo men with Cancer women? Or Cancer men with a Leo woman? I'd be very interested to know. Please leave your comments. But I always say, no matter what, it can work if you really love each other. It just takes a lot more work for you guys to get along. So, I'm going now and I'll see you for the next discussion. Not quite sure which zodiac signs I'm going to combine next.